huge meditation conference on here in Australia, and the keynote presenter is from the States. Her name is Robin Carnes. Robin, welcome to Afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Before we get into what's going to be happening at the conference, because there's lots of different speakers in areas of meditation and mindfulness and yoga, but you work quite closely with the military and have found a way to implement meditation and yoga into the rehabilitation or to the ongoing mental health of our soldiers. How did that come about?
Well, in 2005, I was a yoga teacher and had the just amazing opportunity to be the instructor for what was the first meditation study that the U.S. military ever did on the effects of a particular type of meditation called iRest, Yoga Nidra meditation, on the effects of PTSD. And of course, this was a few years into what's now many year conflicts, unfortunately. And the military was scrambling for ways to address the problems that the combat was creating for people in the multiple deployments. So anyway, I had this amazing opportunity. I happened to live within 2 miles of the Washington, D.C. hospital called Walter Reed, flagship hospital of the military. And so I became involved in this study. And that study was very successful and opened the door for me to become part of a clinical treatment team that treated acute PTSD and traumatic brain injury and many other trauma and related illnesses. And what I saw was, as I worked with small groups of service members from all the service branches in the U.S., was amazing changes in people very quickly. People told me they started to sleep better right away. These were people who hadn't slept for more than 2 hours a night or 3 hours a night in years. They tried everything. They had literally shopping bags full of medications. And within days, many of them would tell me, I'm sleeping. I slept, 4 hours. I slept 6 hours. I slept 12 hours last night. Or I was able to go and get an MRI by using my breath technique that you gave me. And I couldn't get in the machine before. It just freaked me out too much. And so these amazing changes were happening. And so I just knew, like, it put a fire in my belly, like, I need to find a way to have this be happening in more places.
So where did the initiative come from? Was it that the military knew that, the treatments that were currently available for returned soldiers wasn't working, that there more and more people were presenting themselves with post-traumatic stress syndrome? How was it that they thought, we need to add in some level of meditation or yoga or iRest? How did that specifically come about?
I would say two things. One is, desperation creates, desperation and desire to help creates opportunities. And crisis creates opportunities. And there is a crisis of knowing that even though there's well-meaning approaches and lots of incredible healthcare available, it's just really not doing the whole job. And the side effects of the things that they do. And second of all, in any situation like this, there are some visionary, pioneering people who are willing to stick their necks out and do something that could get them in a lot of trouble. And the people that hired me to do this, and the people that then hired me for 6 years that I worked in this treatment program, the rest of the time that it operated, those people were very brave. They risked a lot of their own career by doing something at that point nobody else was doing.
Well, that's how you get change.
That's how you get change, is people risk their own necks.
Robin Carnes is with you. She's the keynote presenter at Meditation Australia conference. There's a video that looks at some of the soldiers that you work with, and one soldier in particular that takes us through his journey of returning and then going back into combat, unbelievably. But his name is Jeff, and here's just a little bit where he talks about just the dark place that he's in and how he's feeling as a returned soldier.
There was little fanfare and little ceremony to welcome us home, to commemorate our fallen, to offer the beginnings of closure on our hellish year abroad. It was off to the bars where I found myself cornered by soldiers who wanted to talk about it. Like the song says, some drink to remember, some drink to forget. My drinking increased, and I was told of what a mean and bitter drunk I could be. I felt stripped of my dignity, pride, and any kind of standing I could lay any claim to, as a result of a thorough demoralization that had taken place over the past year, and was sealed by my shame and foolish actions upon my return. I came to the States, never processing the experience of this past year and a half. I was a wreck.
This is the state that soldiers are coming to you, both men and women. This is the emotional state that they're in, that they're coming to you in. How do you deal with that? How do you help? How do you work with someone that feels like they have no hope?
Well, I will say that while there is a lot of emotion, this trauma is affecting people's entire system. It's their muscles are tightened, their blood sugar is off, their blood pressure, their heart rate,
Nervous system.
That is a nervous system which affects your entire body. So there's no split between body and mind. We know that now, and this is an entire system state that puts people on 24/7 alert. So, I've been so blessed to have a mentor who's a clinical psychologist and a yogic scholar and a yogic teacher. His name is Richard Miller. And he mentored me like on a daily basis at the beginning. And so I was able to develop the skills to both see somebody that I'm meeting with for the first time as recognizing that they feel very broken and that there is a part of them that is very broken. And at the same time, I know and I see, and the years of experience that I've had now, 12, 13 years of experience of doing this now, I also connect with and know that this person has the resources within them to heal from this and to actually come back from this stronger. And so I'm holding those two things at the same time, where they may not be able to hold that about themselves. So that is a very powerful thing. I'm meeting them, reflecting back to them. Yes, I see the brokenness and I'm not denying it, and we're here to address it. But I also see you are a whole, complete person and you have the resources that you need.
Did you go in with different techniques? You've been working in meditation and yoga for a long time. Did you go in with different ways, techniques when it came to this? How did you tweak it?
Well, the primary technique that I have found to be the most useful for most people is called iRest meditation. And that is this incredible adaptation of ancient yogic guided meditation that is very trauma sensitive and also very culturally sensitive. So it takes out a lot of the woo language that often is heard in yoga studios. And because service members, they don't hear that crap, to them, it's just like, what?
Yeah.
So it's very straight language but it in no way takes any of the power out of it because it is affecting the autonomic nervous system directly, and it's doing exactly the opposite of what the trauma did. It is turning down what has been turned up. It's shrinking parts of the brain that have been expanded because of the trauma and vice versa. So it has a direct neurological nervous system effect. So what we find is, most people respond, in my experience, most positively to that, and we did that every day. Some people really like the physical part of yoga, but many of them could not do very much of that, so it was a very gentle approach for most of them. And then the breath practices were incredibly helpful as well, and because that's very portable, they can do it anywhere once they learn it. It's so empowering
and it's so
for them
often
to
that you
realize.
do that. You hold your breath when you're just stressed. On a normal level, let alone someone that's been exposed to the things that a soldier's been exposed to, you've been holding your breath for a long time.
Sometimes for years, people have been holding their breath.
Robin Carnes is with you, keynote presenter at Meditation Australia Conference. We're talking about a program called iRest that Robin has taken to the military and help soldiers deal with and live with post-traumatic stress syndrome. The little bit that we just heard earlier of the soldier from the video of yours, Robin, here he talks about an actual part of the meditation that was, I guess, most powerful and had the most impact for him?
In one of the meditations, what was really critical was she kind of guides you to, think about one of the most horrific, traumatic experiences of your life and go there for a moment. So you go there, right? But then she balances it out by saying, now think of your absolute best blissful experience. My distinct impression is of holding these two things in balance. And what that does for you, it gives you perspective. Because I think for people coming back from combat, you're stuck on that horrific experience. So Robin, with her beautiful paintbrush, says, hey, remember, there's love and kindness in the world. And there's a reason, you're not stuck in that moment.
Incredibly powerful, Robin. And he now has gone back into the military.
Well, he was never out.
He didn't leave?
No, all these were active duty that I work with, but we also work with lots of veterans.
I presume that he must have stepped away there.
They try to keep people
that they can.
Imagine
being in that state and still being out there day after day.
It happens.
Fighting the strength. Oh,
that's what I mean. There's enormous resources. I was the most amazing. It has been the most amazing experience to be around people who, they are so dedicated to being who they can be. And that's the kind of people I want to be around. That's what I want in my life. So I learned so much.
Especially given that they're active. And when we hear some of the horrific stories, I guess, of the emotional insight or just the emotional connection that soldiers can lose. They lose perspective of who they were, of what is right, of what is wrong. To be able to keep people grounded. Because now this soldier is actually out there as an active soldier teaching what you've taught him.
Yeah, he's a medic, and he's still in touch with them many years later, and he's every now and then we have little coaching sessions on the phone, and he is reading a lot about this and sharing this kind of thing with his with the patients he sees. He's a beautiful human being. I'm going to text him right after the show and say, guess what? You shared your wisdom with Australia.
The conference that's on, the Meditation Australia conference, is it just this line of work that you're going to be talking about, just this area of meditation? What are some of the addresses that you'll be giving, Robin?
Well, I'll be talking about is meditation medicine as one of my talks.
Think yes.
I'm going to say yes, and then I'm going to sit down. It'll be really easy for me. And then I'll be giving a workshop co-taught with my colleague Fyoko Toyota, who is an Australian. And we're going to do something on workplace stress and iRest meditation. And then also I'll be sitting on a panel. But even if you're not, if you are interested in trauma, if you're interested in combat-related trauma or other types of trauma, please come to the conference. But there'll also be many, many workshops on education and business and basically how meditation can be woven into and empower and bring more health and well-being to all kinds of settings.
And it's happened, hasn't it? When I was growing up, when I was in primary school, in high school, forget about it.
I know.
And so
but in 20 years, this is going to be part of the curriculum in schools because the evidence base is growing, both for the kind of work I do, but in schools, there's just enormous evidence for it. There's low cost. There's no bad side effects. And people feel better in so many ways. Their concentration is better, less depression, less anxiety, better sleep, better social relationships because it's all connected to your nervous system.
I don't know if this is something that you know, but within the school system, does it help with bullying? The epidemic that we have with bullying.
Sure.
Has there been any evidence that meditation, that some level of a mindfulness program is working with combating bullying within schools?
Well, I have to say that's not my area of expertise, but I would say that bullying would have something to do. Almost all bullies have had some abuse themselves, right? And so their nervous systems are dysregulated, and they are basically acting out that dysregulation by being aggressive towards other people. And so I can only imagine that they are studying that and that it would have an impact, because when people feel peaceful and calm in their nervous system, they don't beat up on other people. It just doesn't happen.
In the years that you've been practicing, has it made you happy to see now how, I know it's got a long way to go, but how common it has become? People have got apps, or they're doing it in their workplace, or people say, you know what, I'm taking a mental health day, or there has been a shift, and maybe it hasn't been fast, but it feels like the acceptance of it is growing at a rapid rate.
It is. It's growing exponentially.
Because I'm sure when you start, people are like, oh, what is this hippie stuff? You know?
Exactly. And there's still some of that, but way less. Because, again, the science is very, we are a science, we respect science, which is a good thing. The science is bearing out what the yogic teachings have been, and the Buddhist teachings have been telling us for thousands of years. But the science is now showing, like, yes, this works, and we can see the effects on brains.
Can anyone come along to the conference, or do you need to be a practitioner?
No, if you're just the slightest bit interested, come, because there will be such a variety of ways that you could tap into a type of meditation that would work for you.
Well, please, if you do text or call the soldier that we just played, a message has just come in for him saying, please tell him that he just made me cry on the train. I'm so happy that that program is working for him. So lots of love coming in here from Australia. Robin Carnes has been with you, keynote presenter for Meditation Australia Conference. As we just said, it's on from the 20th to the 22nd of July. It's happening at Australian Catholic University. If you would like some more information, you can jump on and have a look. Robin, it's been such a pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Congratulations on the work that you're doing too. We need more people like you in the world. Just a little. Come and hang out here a bit. Help us all calm down. This is Imogen Clark.